Hey guys, this is Rudy coming at you from my office in West Palm Beach in Florida. It is Wednesday, it is June the 16th. And what I did was I took a few minutes to kind of figure out what are the sort of top 10 things that Occidental can do to finally get the stock actually moving in the right direction and rewarding the shareholders for being patient with the company. So under the watchful eyes of my friend George Washington and John Adams, the founding fathers of the United States, let's go into this discussion and sort of see what I can come up with. And then what I'll do is afterwards, I'll give you guys an opportunity in the comment section to tell me what you think so that we can see if we can figure out how to get Oxy to move from where it's currently stuck at around $29. So we could all make some money. So I thought I'd call this 10 steps for liftoff for Occidental Petroleum. And I'm going to go through this quickly. It's not in any particular order, but let's see what I can come up with. So here's my top 10. In the first place, obviously, this is totally beyond Occidental's control, but if West Texas Intermediate reaches $100 per barrel or thereabouts, which is not impossible and not too far off, Occidental becomes a very different company very, very quickly, even if they keep the production as it currently is at around 1.1 million barrels per day. That would be a huge difference. I have said in the past that even at $70 plus, Occidental is printing money. And at the same time, obviously, with a break even of around the mid-30s, according to Vicky in the last conference call, we know for sure at $70 they are making good money, but at $100 they would literally be ready for liftoff. How about this one? Increase your production. So right now, Occidental is kind of holding at about 1.1 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. What if they can get the production up to 1.5 million? As the demand is increasing across the world as a result of the sort of winding down, if I could put it that way, of the pandemic, demand is going to go up, and there are going to be new entrants, like, for instance, Iran, or otherwise OPEC returning to pre-COVID level production quantities. So Occidental at the same time has the ability to up their production as well if required. Now, obviously, we also need to keep in mind that if the production increases, it can impact the price negatively. So it's a delicate little balancing act, but that's another thing that Occidental could do. So it's number 2. How about this one? So they talked about this during the last conference call. They said that the current long-term debt, which is about $35 billion, can come down within the next year or so to around $25 billion. And that would give the market a lot more confidence and investors a lot more confidence to say Occidental no longer has a wall of debt, but the debt is now much more manageable. So if they can get the debt, specifically the long-term debt, down to around 25 billion or thereabouts, whilst at the same time increasing their revenue substantially, that would make a huge difference as well. The other thing that they can do, certainly from a retail investor point of view, is reinstate dividends. Now, I know this is part of their medium-term plan, but somewhere along the line, they can actually announce it. So they could say, for instance, just by way of an example, they could say in 2022, we plan to reinstate dividends, and then we'll see how we go from a free cash flow point of view from that point forward, and maybe increase the dividends quarter over quarter. In fact, they don't even have to say what type of a dividend they plan to reinstate. In other words, they don't even have to quantify it. They just need to say, guys, we are ready at the current levels that we're generating revenue to reinstate dividends, obviously subject to our profitability and EPS. They can definitely improve marketing. So this one's a little bit of a soft touch approach from me because marketing sometimes is a bit vague. What I can say reasonably confidently is that Occidental is not the most strongest mindful marketer, however you want to put it, out there. There are a lot of companies that do a lot more sort of above and below line marketing compared to Occidental Petroleum. And they have good stories to tell as well. You know, like Occidental Low Carbon Ventures is a great story, especially now that there's such a focus on carbon capture and carbon neutrality and CO2 emissions and things like that. I mean, get in front of the story and just lead as opposed to reacting when people ask questions. So this is mainly sort of a comment directed at Vicky Holler, the CEO, maybe to a lesser degree, Rob Peterson as the CFO, and then of course, investor relations as they communicate with people as they go along. But for sure, Occidental can do a lot better and certainly perform a lot better in terms of their marketing. How about this one? This is going to be a little bit controversial. Sell OxyChem. So OxyChem today is a cash cow for Occidental Petroleum. However, as the prices for WTI especially goes into the 70s and beyond, do we need this little cash cow? Is it a diversion? Is it something that distracts them from doing the business that they are primarily focused on? OxyChem is such a good cash flow and profit generator. Occidental should be able to get a good price for OxyChem if they wanted to sell it. And anyway, there's a plant similar to OxyChem going up just down the road from where they are in Texas, this time funded by Exxon. So you know what? It might not be a bad time to divest OxyChem, but as I said, it's probably a little bit controversial because right now it's one of Occidental Petroleum's major cash cows. And how about this? Occidental can acquire some small profitable shale drillers. And I listed a couple here. There's actually more in the Permian Basin. There are a number of small drillers. And when I say small, I'm talking about companies that have market caps in the hundreds of millions of maybe just $1 billion or $2 billion. A few that come to mind: Cimarex, Callon, Centennial, Laredo. Maybe acquire some of these small profitable shale drillers, just fold them into the company. Coming back to my earlier comment about increasing production, as long as it's profitable, no one scoffs at net new profitable revenue. And this is one way in which you can actually grow your business without even impacting whatever it is that you're doing currently as it relates to the rest of your business. Buy back some shares. This one is always debatable, right? So as a previous insider to a publicly traded company, we always had this dichotomy of opinion. It's like, if you buy back shares, some investors will say, didn't you have anything better to do with your money? In other words, if you're sitting on enough cash to buy back shares, I accept and understand that you're buying back shares because you want to impact the dilution in terms of the number of shares that are currently available out there, and obviously reward your shareholders because there's going to be less shares available in the open market, which means that the value should go up. But very, very frequently, investors will say, how much does this cost? So if you're going to buy back 10 million shares or something at the current market price of around $30, you can do the math and say, okay, you know what? If you had nothing better to do with $300 million, then you are probably lacking ideas in terms of how to grow your business, because using the same $300 million to invest and maybe even do a little acquisition or something like that should be far better longer term in buying back your own shares. But for sure, buying back shares or share buyback in general is a positive indicator to investors, especially retail investors, that the company management feels that their shares are undervalued, and at the same time, they're going to pull some shares off the open market. How about attracting some institutional investment? So this one's a little bit tricky because it's part of the sales job, and that kind of links into the marketing, which I just said Occidental is not very, very skilled at or very efficient at, or if they are certainly hiding their skills very well. But there are a number of investors, especially mutual funds, so we look at people like Carl Icahn sometimes and you say, or David Tepper, you say, it would be nice if they pick up a few million shares or something like that, because it shows you that the institutional investors, hedge funds, equity firms, etc., are interested in taking a position in Occidental, which gives small retail investors more confidence. But I put mutual funds up here because if you can actually get mutual funds to make a substantial investment in a company like Occidental Petroleum, the difference is mutual funds are generally long for the longer term. So when they publish their prospectus at the beginning of the year and say, this is what we're invested in, and this is our past performance, and this is our anticipated growth for the year or whatever, they kind of buy it and they sort of locked in. Whereas somebody like Carl Icahn, for example, as an institutional investor, could just decide tomorrow to sell the rest of his shares, and then that's the end of that. And you'll only learn about it sort of at the end of the quarter. So that's another idea. And then the last one I wanted to mention is, and this is critical, start generating a healthy quarterly net profit. Show us that you can generate a healthy net profit margin when you've got WTI trading at $70 a barrel. And of course, at the end of the day, that's going to equate into earnings per share, which is going to be exceptional in terms of driving interest in your stock and getting investors to say, I want to get me some of this. So those are some of the ideas that I had, guys. But as I've said many times before, you guys are the smart guys. I'm just here to kind of tell you the story and then pick up the comments that you make in the comment section and listen to your ideas and your thoughts about this particular topic. So I listed 10 and I rattled them off very quickly. So maybe what you could do is, go into the comment section and tell me what you think, what Occidental can do in order to improve the stock performance for us as investors and very, very patient investors in Occidental Petroleum. So guys, on that note, this is Rudy for Investor Investors saying thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Talk to you later in the comments. Bye-bye.